Hi, and welcome to TTELT, Teaching Tips for English Language Teachers, a program of educators worldwide. I'm your host today, Melanie Gobert.
Hello, everyone. This is Melanie Gobert, your host for today's episode of TTELT, Teaching Tips for English Language Teachers. Joining us today is Dr. Ghassoub Sharif. Dr. Ghassoub works at the Hamdan bin Mohammed Smart University in Dubai. His topic is going to be reading is almost non-existent in the Middle East. Thank you for coming, Ghassoub.
My pleasure. Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, let's start. How can you describe the lack of reading in the Arab world?
Actually, this is a very important issue in our life in the Middle East, in societies, etc. You know, it's a very important issue. The situation now, for some reasons, people do not like reading, and it has been going on for some time. Now, some historical issue is very quickly to tell you that since the invasion of Mughal to Baghdad, when they invaded and destroyed the biggest libraries in the world, they killed so many polymath scientists, threw everything in the river. That was a big setback for the Arabic language, which was the language #1 in the world in the 12th century. Then, as years moved on, people began to believe in reading as something for the exam. Parents, society, students, they say, when I read, I'm reading for the exam, so let me read my textbooks, which led to a big lack of reading, and the figures really are shocking that an Arab, this some research 10 years ago, an Arab reads 6 minutes a year, while an American reads 12 hours or 200 hours, etc. So there were some shocking figures about the situation. So that's the situation, and so that make people hate reading, and they are not interested. And we as teachers really face very tough situation because we understand how reading is important. So that's the situation at the moment where people read for the exam, then they lack knowledge, they lack patience, they lack vocabulary. They are not very prepared for learning a new language, for example, or a new topic in English. Their English is so poor that can be an obstacle. That's what I mean, the situation at the moment, non-existent. All right?
Yes, and why is reading so important?
Yes, as a teacher, as a father, as a parent, reading is one of the most important skills in our life. It's because when you look at language, it has 4 main skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing. But when we look at writing, it's the most important skill because it's perceptive. You have to perceive information. You take information like you're feeding raw material, then your brain works, etc. And without reading, your brain does not work. It's going to be lazy. I mean, reading is an exercise for the brain. And I notice my students, because they never read, they are so lazy to read anything, and even are slow to think. If we talk about critical thinking, it's a joke. They do not have facts. They cannot think critically. In order for you to be a critical thinker, it's not just because you can think. You must have the facts. You must have knowledge of the world. So reading is so important because it provides you information. Background knowledge is very important for understanding. Second, it's gives you access to understand other people's cultures. Then you become a more like effective person in your life. You know people, you understand their culture, then you learn from them, you teach them, and that's through reading as well. Second, if you want to be a good writer, it doesn't mean you just write. To be a good writer, and in my case, this is the fact, you have to be a reader, ferocious reader. Writers read first, and then vocabulary, they come up with topics, and they create general knowledge. Then they begin to write. Right. Um, Reading boosts self-confidence. When people go, for example, let's say, for example, if they have read well, then they are confident. And then reading provide you with strategies, provide you with information, and you become more sociable in your life and more confident because you're talking with confidence. So English becomes better. You can improve your vocabulary, your spelling, etc., by reading and looking at certain authors. Right. So reading is very important for us to develop our personality, to think of ourselves, and to be a good student, etc., and so on. So that's what I mean. Reading is very important, and for that, I like some authors. They talk about their history. Their family bribed them to read when they were children, and that worked because they knew the importance of reading. And now they became writers, they became very successful people. So to me, I can say to be an effective person in your job, in your family, in your life, you have to read in different topics. And reading has to be a habit. A habit means excellent practice. When you when something becomes a habit like reading, exercising, then you have achieved effectiveness. Then you will move to greatness slowly, slowly, like reading The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, really. And of course, I might talk about college students and other students, but in this case, even the society begin to learn the importance of reading and help their children. When you're teaching in the Arab world, parents focus on exam, grades, grades. This obsession is crazy, is insane, because people are not motivated to do anything. They just study for the exam, and then when the exam is taken, everything is forgotten. I'm a teacher. I have been there for a long time. I understand the situation. So that's why I say reading is very important. And Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Prime Minister, a ruler of Dubai, a very educated person, and he understood how the Arabs in their golden age, the whole culture, the whole civilization was going around the book. The book was so important. And for the caliphs in Baghdad, when I say caliph, the ruler of the Islamic Empire, he used to give writers the weight of their scripts, gold, silver. Imagine scripts at the time were very heavy. So people were just focusing on doing something important, like reading, for example. That was very important. And Sheikh Mohammed is aware of these facts. I have read his books. So he came up with an initiative in the Arab world that the more books you read, the money you get, there will be awards. And he succeeded in this. Every year we see in one of the Arab countries, these young people have read many, many books because of the competition. So this is one of the things that, because we know reading is very important. Yes.
Okay, let's just finish up with one final question. What are other ways that we can revive the habit of reading among Arab learners and Arab society in general?
Yes, I have some tips for English teachers, for career program teachers. Is first, I believe in what the first strategy. I believe in tailoring material for your student. If you insist on students to read uh, original material, actually here they might be very weak in vocabulary, in grammar, and everything. They will not understand, they will give up. So the first step is to tailor specific material for students, whether you are in college or at school or whatever. Then the second step is to start providing ethical material, right? Original material, step by step. But now you want to attract them, they feel they understand. For you to motivate your students also, I believe, try to make reading as a source of fun. Begin by, I'm talking from experience. Begin by little jokes, little anecdotes, etc. They laugh, they enjoy. encourage them. So by making reading a source of fun, here you're establishing a good bond between you and your students. They are connected to you and they begin to love, to enjoy reading. Third, try to read loud, to make them read loud in the beginning a little bit, 1 minute, 2 minutes. They can listen to their pronunciation, they can listen to themselves. And that's a kind of practice for presentation. So they see the advantage of reading. Something else is to, like, especially the Arab students, excite them about history. The Arabs had a great civilization up to the 13th century. Tell them some facts, like the first university in the world was started by a woman from Morocco, in Tunisia. It's from Tunis, sorry, from Tunis, Tunisia, in Morocco, Al-Qurawi University. I'm thinking, what? We've never heard before. Then you direct them to go and read, to make them feel like proud of their history because they were reading. Those people in the past, like Ibn Sina, whatever, who rejected the king when he cured the king of bad illness. The king said, "What do you want, Ibn Sina? I can give you anything you want." Ibn Sina simply said, "Your Majesty, I just want you to give me access, if you don't mind, to your library. I want to read the books in your library." Oh my God, it's amazing. So,
Okay, Ghassoub, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us
welcome.
today.
You're welcome.
This has
Okay.
this has been your host, Melanie Gobert, for today's episode of TTELT, Teaching Tips for English Language Teachers.
Thank you for joining us today. Share with us how you are using these tips. Leave us a comment or voice message on social media or at ttelt.org. Thanks for joining this episode of TTELT, brought to you by Educators Worldwide. Follow, like, and subscribe to TTELT on your social media, and try a new teaching tip today.